Okay, so this is meant to walk you through how to graph your data for your engineering a cooling system. So hopefully by now you've conducted your experiment. You have a list of temperature values for your control experiment that just cooled down naturally, and some values for your experimental experiment where you tried to cool it down at a quicker rate. And so you're going to input your values into this table here. The first thing I want you to do, though, is I don't know if you measured in degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. And so I gave you kind of both those options, but we need to establish which one you used. So you go ahead and select this cell, just go ahead and select it. And notice that when you select it, the values or the input is also up here on this little row. And so let's say you decided to measure your temperatures in degrees Celsius, then you would just delete the degree Fahrenheit, okay? So again, select the cell, delete the degree value or degree measurement that you did not use, okay? So it's only going to display the value or the units that you used. So now we're going to be ready to input our numbers, and we're only going to input numbers into these cells. Okay, I have already given you the labels for the time in minutes and then your temperature values in degrees Celsius. So we're just going to put in numbers here. We're not going to put in, like, this will be my 0 time, and then I measured at 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then 15, and then 20, 25. I'm not going to put 5 minutes. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm just going to input the numbers. Okay, we're going to be graphing numbers. We can't have any words or letters in there. And then you would go ahead and input your control values. And so I'm going to go ahead and put my values in that I have collected. Okay, so now I have my values of here are my time values, and then my initial temperatures were the same, but 65 degrees Celsius, and then I've input the values accordingly, okay? So now, the kind of graph we're gonna use is what's called a line chart, okay? So it's a line chart. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and just select what you wanna graph. So I'm gonna just go ahead and grab this cell right here, and then I'm gonna just drag it down until I get all of the information that I want to graph, okay? And then there's two ways you can go ahead and get to the chart. You can either select Insert Chart, or you can select this little chart icon, Insert Chart, okay? If you can see that little icon there. But again, you're gonna wanna select all of your data, Insert Chart, and it may take a little while to kind of crunch, but it's actually thinking. And so it usually looks at the data and figures out what it is, what kind of graph you want. So it should default, when you select that data, it should default to what's called a line chart here. If it doesn't, if it gives you a bar chart or scatter or something else, you go ahead and for your chart type, you're gonna make sure it's suggested right here, the line chart, but you can actually scroll down a little bit and you can kind of see all your options. So right now this is like a very rigid line chart. You could select this one and it kind of smooths it out a little bit. It's kind of up to you. But we definitely want to do a line chart. Okay. Now, we don't need to do anything else in the setup. It should automatically graph everything, but we are going to customize this because this does not give us a complete picture of our graph. So let's say that you just kind of closed out of this. You can move, your data is still there. So select your chart and there it is, okay? So the problem is I've got a graph. The title is just kind of goofy. I have a label here on this horizontal axis, but I don't have a label here on the vertical axis. And so a well done graph should have a proper title. It should have a correctly labeled horizontal axis and a correctly labeled vertical axis. So let's go ahead and edit this. And so if you select on the graph or your chart here and you select the little dot, 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 you can edit the chart. So we'll go ahead and select edit. It's going to bring me again to the setup. I've already set it up. My setup is fine, but I do want to customize it. So I'm going to select customize. My chart style, I'm okay with that. You can change the colors and the borders and whatnot, but this is fine. We do want to go ahead and select the second option for chart and axis titles. So select this option. So the first thing it defaults is changing the chart title. You can go ahead and look this drop down arrow and it'll actually let you modify each of the different titles. We're going to go ahead and just stick with the chart title right now. And right now my chart title is, my graph is called Controlled Temperature and Experimental Temperature. I don't want that to be the name of it. So I'm going to just delete this. And I am just going to show the cooling temperatures for trial 1. That's the name of my chart. You can name it whatever you want, but it should be indicative that this is for trial 1. Okay, so you can see it automatically updated right here. Cooling temps for trial 1. I want to add a label here for my vertical axis. I have no idea what the 0, 20, 40, 60, 80 actually means, so I need to give it some meaning. So I'm going to select this drop down arrow. And I want to change the vertical axis title because right now there is nothing there. And those are actually temperature values. And so I'm going to change this to be temperature. And I do want to indicate that this was degrees Celsius. You may have it be degrees Fahrenheit. And you can see as you type that in, it updates that. Okay. We can go ahead and check our horizontal. Our horizontal axis title is time, and that's what we have. I don't need to change that. And I don't necessarily need to give it a subtitle. That is the bare minimum in changing things. You can definitely make it a little jazzier in terms of your color and whatnot, but for now, I think that's all you might want to change. You can explore other options if you want to, but this is a good graph. It has a title, it has an axis that's properly labeled for my vertical axis, and it has a properly labeled for my time axis. And that's a pretty good graph. So you're going to do this for your trial 1. And then you will also see, if you scroll down in this file, you have already a table set up here for you for trial 2. And so you would make your graph there as well. Okay? So hopefully that gives you some insight into how to graph your data and how you would have 2 lines on one graph.